Hello, I'm Brian, and it's my turn to give my story this time. And you've got to notice that since I'm approaching my 83rd birthday, that there's going to be a lot more in this story. I was born and brought up in Glasgow, and an only child. My parents, good parents, they paid their dues to the Church of Scotland in their quarterly communion offering, but they never went to the church, and I've no real interest. I was sent to Sunday school, dispatched, as you might say. And as I got older, into teens, I still didn't go to church, but what I did do was go to the youth club that the local Church of Scotland ran. That's where I met the girl that actually made a big difference to me, because I met this girl and we started going out together, and I discovered she was a Christian. And I started occasionally going with her to her church, which was a new church in a housing scheme in Glasgow called Pollock. And this was Pollock Baptist Church, and it was absolutely brand new. There was a Billy Graham crusade in the Kelvin Hall in Glasgow, and after that there was a movement that went on called Tell Scotland. And a lot of the churches at that time ran particular Tell Scotland campaigns, of their mini ones of their own. And this church at Pollock did that, and a very, very excellent pastor. So I started hearing the gospel, particularly on a Sunday night. And I have to say that my backside gets sore sitting on the fence for quite a long time. But one Sunday night, I was really moved by the Spirit. I didn't do anything. There was an altar call, and people were going out. I didn't go out. And I was driving my mother's car, and I got into the car on the way home, and the tears started to come in my eyes. So I turned and went back to the church. And most people had left by that time, but there was a couple of the deacons there, and they took me into a room and helped me to make the decision to accept Jesus into my life. And that's what I did. As was the custom then, I was baptised not that long after that. And that was how I came to, I was 19, 20 at the time. And that was me. I was now starting a new life. You'll have guessed probably by this time that I married the girl that took me to church. And next year we'd actually be celebrating our 60 years. I'm not sure what 60 years is, but whatever 60 years is, that's what it will be next year. We've been together a long time. We've got 4 kids. Over the next 20 years, we're pretty busy with the folk bringing up the 4 kids, moving because of my job from Glasgow to Edinburgh. And during that time, we were strongly connected with 2 churches, Springburn Baptist Church and Bristol Baptist in Edinburgh. I actually was Saturday night youth club leader in both of them for a number of years. But I have to say, I found the rather pedantic formality of how things operated in the Baptist church then quite difficult for me to get used to. I felt it was not conducive to where the church was going at that time. And my spell as a deacon didn't last all that long, to be honest. But one of the things that I think I would be most conscious of during that period was sort of coasting, faith-wise particularly. It was okay, it was fine, and we did do jobs in the church. Isabel was Sunday school superintendent. Our kids, 3 of our kids, made decisions for Jesus and were baptised in Bristol Baptist Church, which was great. But we were coasting. We didn't really feel that our faith was going anywhere. And I suppose in some respects we got a bit, I find it difficult to say, but I suppose we actually did get a bit bored. There must be something else. And Isabel was the first person to actually identify what that might be. Isabel got to hear about. It's a kind of movement that was abroad then. It was mid-80s, early to mid-80s in the UK, which later got the name of charismatic renewal. But in those days, it was only just a feeling of a spirit awakening in individual lives. Isabel and a few young nurses that were in the church and got to hear of a thing called Spring Harvest. So they arranged to go to Skegness from Edinburgh. It was terrible weather. Standing in the rain in Skegness between a big top and a cinema in Butland, getting soaking wet, saying out loud, and people must have thought I was crazy, saying, if this Holy Spirit is anything that I need, can I have it now, please? Because I was getting a bit fed up. And the next thing that happened was that somebody came up to me, who'd obviously seen me standing there getting wet, saying, can I help? You know, I said, no, I don't think so. I think I'm all right. I said, well, can you help me then? Because I've come out of that big top there, and I don't know what to do and where to go. I said, well, where do you want to go? He said, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want something to happen in my life. And he and I then had a deep conversation, and I actually led him to Jesus. And I thought to myself, hey, this works. This spiritual awakening is something. And from then on, it made a huge difference to me. Round about then, my job took all of us, most of us anyway, from Edinburgh down to the outskirts of London. It turned out that there was a church there led by a Scotsman, which was a great bonus for us, a guy called Jim Graham. And so we went to his church, and the first Sunday we went, it was packed. And Isabel and I looked at each other after the service started. We looked at each other, and Isabel said, "This is just like being at Spring Harvest every day," and she was right. It was like a Christian conference every Sunday. It's absolutely jumping, and it was great. And we enjoyed it so much that we were there for the next 26 years. We talk a lot about other forms of church, like house churches and groupings, people that are starting churches all on their own in a different direction or a different model of church. But actually, when it comes down to it, unless there's church with good leadership, and particularly good pastoral leadership, it doesn't really work all that well. At Viewfield, that's what we've got. We've got good leadership at the moment and good pastor at the moment, and I think that's really bodes well for our future. So I think that most people will be asking themselves, well, if they've been all these years at a sort of charismatic type of church, where are they now? What do they think of Viewfield? Well, I think I'd have to be honest and say we still subscribed quite a lot to the open, quite demonstrative style of worship, and we do still use the language that the Lord has given us to communicate privately with Him, but we're very comfortable where we are, and we just want to see more baptisms, more people coming to know the Lord, whatever that means. So we're not going to be jumping up and down. Well, we might be jumping up and down, but it'll be because we're praising the Lord for no other reason.